Hi, we are Group 7 that will be presenting on the Merck's Vioxx case study for ethical reasoning case studies in this video. Our group is consisting of me, Zufadli, Shahir, Faras, and Mufreh.
How did the company reach the point of facing the challenge? Vioxx was an arthritis drug that earned the company its major revenue, peace being a blockbuster medicine in market for its popular use among arthritis patients. Initially discovered in Merck's labs, the drug was said to reduce pain and inflammation without side effect of ulcers or gastrointestinal bleeding because it belonged to the class of COX-2 inhibitors. After being approved by FDA over smooth trials, the drug did exceptionally well in the market by being the fastest and biggest drug of that time. Merck restored the direct-to-consumer marketing strategy commercials that cost the company over $500 million and in return got an annual sale of $2.5 billion, but little did the company know that the strategy was going to turn into the biggest disaster. Because after several years of being a popular arthritis medicine, the drug's credibility dropped as it started to report cases of causing cardiovascular disease in patients. It was discovered and conveyed all over the marketing and academic fields that using COX-2 inhibitors may cause cardiovascular dysfunctions. What were the consequences after the decision was made short term and long term? Internal documents made public in litigation revealed that a Merck marketing team had developed a strategy called Advantage, which is assessment of differences between Vioxx and naproxen to ascertain gastrointestinal tolerability and effectiveness. To skew the result of clinical trials in the drug's favor, to increase the likelihood of FDA approval for its anti-inflammatory and arthritis drug Vioxx. The pharmaceutical giant Merck used flawed methodologies biased toward a predetermined result to exaggerate the drug's positive effect, a pattern of ghostwriting of scientific articles. In one draft of a Vioxx result study that did not yet have a prominent outside name attached, Merck officials list the lead authors only as external author. A Merck scientist was also found to have removed evidence of 3 heart attacks among patients in data from the result present. Thousands of avoidable premature deaths and 100,000 heart attacks. Dr. David Graham, the Associate Director for Science and Medicine in FDA Office of Drug Safety, testified in 2004 before the Senate Finance Committee that the FDA failures to recall Vioxx earlier had resulted in as many as 55,000 premature deaths from heart attacks and stroke. As the 2007 settlement of the Vioxx issue resulted in $4.85 billion payment by the company over litigation and lawsuits filed against it. It also paid an additional $950 million to the U.S. government over pleading guilty for the illegal promotion of drug and for the deceiving of U.S. government over its safety without ever taking responsibility of the disaster. Merck to withdraw the product from the market in 2004.
So basically, what are the consequences that happen after the decisions processes that being made by Merck on its Vioxx drug? They basically face a lawsuit battle from the patients that are prescribing their product and also with the US government. From the litigation processes, it was revealed that Merck marketing team strategy called Advantage, which is assessment of differences between Vioxx and naproxen to ascertain gastrointestinal tolerability and effectiveness, which they skew the results of clinical trials in the drug's favor. Also in those lawsuit battles, exposure of evidence removal by Merck scientists where 3 heart attacks among patients from the data set from the results presented. There is also a claim by Dr. David Graham, the Associate Director for Science and Medicine in FDA's Office of Drug Safety, where he testified in 2004 before the Senate Finance Committee, where the FDA failure to recall Vioxx earlier had resulted in as many as 55,000 premature deaths from heart attacks and stroke. So, these situations that arises from the lawsuit battle basically shattered Merck credibility as one of the biggest drug producer and lessened the trust from the consumers towards its brand. Merck then have to settle for $4.85 billion in 2007 for the lawsuits and litigation they faced, and also additional $950 million to US government for being guilty on illegal promotion of drug, and also for deceiving US government over its safety. Okay. And the Merck's Vioxx removal on 2004 is also due to the ignorance of the company on the red flags arising from the studies on the product. Although the effectiveness of the drug is proven towards its user, the failure of the company to rectify the side effects of the drug efficiently cost the company its most profitable drug and also affect its market share and also trust from their customers. And next, so what is the company dilemma when the problems arise from this Vioxx case? They felt that their company will suffer greatly from the case based on the financial and reputational aspects. Thus, they challenge the credibility of marketing strategies used by other pharmaceutical companies to divert the spotlight. They also felt that the drug effects should have been updated with US Food and Drug Administration (FDA) and not recalled from the market, as they felt the drug was successful on majority of patients to relieve arthritis. Also, with the recalling of the drug, the decision is basically made on its ethical responsibility rather than the effectiveness of the drug. With the belief of the superior effects of the drug, they basically decided to reject other studies' notions on the side effects of the drug. This deliberate negligence of Merck and leniency of FDA on studies that predicted increased cardiovascular risk among patients basically brought a lot of criticism from many sides. Also, 400 lawsuits from Vioxx patients before the product being recalled is being ignored, which basically worsened the problem and led to the demise of the Merck's Vioxx drug. So from this perspective, the dilemma arising from the case was not handled efficiently by Merck, hence bringing bad reputations and outcomes due to these problems that arise from this case.
In this slide, we will analyze decision made by the company, whether it was a decision to fulfill one of the dilemma or it was paradigm case. So after discussing in our group, we come up with one decision, which is the decision made by the company is based on fulfilling the dilemma of the company, which is maintaining the company profit and only recording the product after pressure from many sides. Next, in our discussion, we also conclude that the decision made by Merck is not a good decision. Why we say it's not a good decision? First, because Merck should have paid more heed to the early sign of Vioxx cardiovascular effects and the initial lawsuits by patients. Secondly, Merck should have resorted to extensive research for side effects and collaborate with top researchers and taken the FDA in confidence for devising liable solution. Thirdly, the recall of the drug should have FDA involvement and based on benefit versus risk analysis of the drug usage. And lastly, the marketing campaign should be toned down and involve full disclosure of the current situation of the drug instead of suddenly pulling out the drug from the market.
So now we're gonna move to what did we learn from this case study? What did we learn from the scandal of Vioxx recall? So this story will undoubtedly send a clear message to industry as a whole that in the choice of profit versus customer, the customers should always be the main priority. And Vioxx case is bad news for industry, academics, journals, and the public as a whole. But the main point is that it's an important lesson at the same time. Of course, Merck was once one of the US's most publicly admired companies, and its behavior might not be different from that of other in the pharmaceutical or biotechnological industry, or as a whole, it isn't different from any other industry. Whatever measures they decided to take, there is no doubt that Vioxx case is a wake-up call for the industry, and pharma and industry as a whole has become a victim of its own success. So now, what should we do going forward? We can say, and the main point is, academic medicine and industry, medical journals and government agencies, all of them need to come together to define a set of principles by which we can restore faith and collaboration on new treatments that can improve patient care. Or we can say, if we talk about industry as a whole, these principles must ensure the safety of the customer. And we might consider adopting some new approaches. Academics engaged in the industry, designed and sponsored studies should insist that the data are stored in an academic site, analyzed by non-company investigators, and eventually made accessible to the public for transparency and scrutiny. And in addition, for that whole, independent audits should be conducted to ensure that companies follow standardized and pre-specified protocols that ensure no manipulating of the results or the study as a whole. And that's all how we can move forward and avoid such disastrous events from the industry that is supposed to improve mankind's lives, not destroy it. Thank you.